Okay, this meeting is being recorded. This is our February 25th meeting, 2026. So we're all getting a little bit of snow these days. I know we've been doing a lot of snow removing. I'm sure everybody is scraping off the roofs of the buses. It's been extremely cold in the past here. So everybody should be treating their fuel. Again, the snow removal, and I know that's the main thing that we've been doing is coming in for that. So our last meeting was held on January 22nd, 2026. Jeff Curry with Leonard Bus Sales presented on the International EV Bus and any updates and changes since last year. Like I was saying, we're trying to do all three of them each year. The International, Bluebird, and Thomas in the beginning of the year, and then we can do other presentations after that. But I always like to get the big three in there. So this is our third one. We've already done the others. So some of the notes I had for that meeting was the battery that used to be behind the rear axle is now moved to the driver's seat area under there. That's where the extra battery is put. This is on the International bus. The push button gear selector is being replaced with a twist knob, just kind of like the wipers. You just kind of twist the knob. He went over the service intervals, electric air compressor with a 10,000 mile filter change. So it's a critical thing. He said we need to make sure we're changing those filters. There's a high voltage power steering pump. Replace the fluid every 20 and filter every 24 months. So twice a year, you're going to want to be changing those. They still have the high voltage cables, the orange with the blue stripe, orange with the white stripe, different zones, level 1, level 2, and level 3. I know they went over that before. Said, not to touch the high voltage. That's the same with all of them. They do have a 135 mile to 200 mile range. So they're working on their batteries as well. They're still using a 6-phase, 650 volt motor. The new dash, it looks more like a car. That goes in. Their trucks are the same way, but I know that the buses, they have a different style dashboard, and that goes right along with the gear selector. Their motor is 255 continuous horsepower and 342 horsepower for peak. They are a little bit heavier. Well, we've known that. They're 31,000 pounds or 35,000 pounds. Those are the two different buses that they have. They are using a fuel-fired heater. So it's like the Webasto heaters from previous. That's probably how they're getting a little extra mileage, especially in the wintertime. Air disc brakes on all four, 800 volts to the motor when you accelerate. So when you really hit the throttle, I thought that was kind of a neat fact, 800 volts. And they went over some of the training and different things that they're going to do in the future here, but that is on the International bus, and that meeting was recorded, so you can that was uploaded to our channel, so feel free to watch that and use the information. Today's presenter will be Roger Harod with Matthews Bus Sales. He'll be presenting on the Thomas EV bus, any kind of changes that they've had since last year. Go ahead, Roger.
All right, let's see if I can get this shared with you. Are we up?
Yes.
Great, great. All right, we're talking about the changes we've come up with in the last few months here. We haven't done an awful lot to this product that we haven't already explained to you, but we'll go through it a little quickly. This is our Gen 1 chassis, and the Gen 1 chassis has done pretty good for us. We are broken into 3 sections. We have the air system, obviously, at the rear. We don't have anything else back there. The control system's all forward, and the battery and powertrains are in the middle. Now, we still have the high voltage cutoffs. They're still there. I don't know if you can see my mouse on this or not, but the high voltage cutoff switch is up on the front on the junction box, and it's just where it's been all along. The low voltage is on the battery box, and we still have the MSDs. Now, we only have 2 batteries. We've only ever had 2 batteries, so we only have 2 MSDs, and they're located at the rear of the battery pack on the driver's side, and I'll talk more about those later. Now, there were actually some changes made to Gen 1 that we're actually holding for Gen 2, and we just moved them ahead. One of them is we've updated the air compressor, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We've also updated the batteries. We've gone to slightly larger batteries. And again, that was going to be a Gen 2. We did it in Gen 1. We had the chance to do it. We went ahead with it. And the other thing was really nice for the technicians, because we had some cables buried in front of the battery above the scuff plate that were really tough to get to, and they gave us an access cover in the floor, which has made life very nice for the technicians. There's our basic layout. And the biggest change we're talking about from Gen 1 to Gen 2 is the powertrain. We've always run a motor transmission package. We will continue to do that. The transmission packages allows us to use a slightly lower motor. Horsepower is not a problem with an electric vehicle. There's lots of horsepower. The problem is starting torque. And by going to a little smaller unit, that transmission gives us a boost. It's just a torque multiplier. This is also built as a 400-volt system. And the 400-volt system was fine when it was built, but quite honestly, today's products are all going higher voltage. That also allows us to reduce the amperage load in the batteries, reduce heat situations, and we are changing that as well. But the big change is we're going to eliminate all of that. All of that's going away, and it's going to be replaced by the Accelera 14XE powertrain package, which is both a transmission and it again replaces all of those components and gives us a built-in transmission motor package with a much better operation. Now, the horsepower on this is the same as the horsepower we had prior, but with the change to the E-axle, we've been able to tweak the system a little bit better, and it's given us a good deal more torque on starting, a lot better performance, and everybody seems to be very, very pleased with it. This is also a 650-volt system. We have 2 400-volt batteries in our bus currently. They're wired in parallel, giving us 400 volts. What we're changing on that is we're using the same batteries. We're just going to wire them in series, and that'll give us an 800-volt package, and we're quite pleased with that. That's just where we want to be. A little video for you. I hope it comes through.
At Thomas Built, innovation isn't driven by the desire to be new, or different, or celebrated. It's driven by what matters: listening and evolving. To build the school buses people want to drive, service, and ride. That's what inspired our most recent electric milestone, the Safety Liner C2 Julie Gen 2. Powered by an all-new E-axle and 800-volt battery system, Julie Gen 2 provides smooth, dynamic performance you can feel from the driver's seat. In addition to 259 and 279-inch wheelbases, Julie Gen 2 has a versatile 219-inch wheelbase, purposely engineered for seamless maneuvering in tight spaces. On the inside, our latest electric school bus is thoughtfully designed with direct access to electrical components for streamlined service. Plus, a modern digital dash elevates the driving experience and makes diagnostics quick and easy. At Thomas Built, we make school buses that move you and drive us. That's how we power the next generation. It's how we make every mile matter.
Again, here's the new Gen 2 chassis, and the only really difference here is we got a big hole in the middle that there's nothing in anymore, and it's allowed us to make some changes, and some of them have been pretty substantial. Starting off with wheelbase, we were stuck at 259 or 279. Removing those components, we've been able to drop back to a 219 wheelbase. We got somebody that should be muted back there. We got some interference.
Let me check.
We're recording the meeting.
Recording?
Okay, the expected range, we did increase the batteries in Gen 1, and optimistic range increase about 20 miles on that, and that's not bad. Battery voltage, obviously, with the 400-volt system, we went to 8, and we just did that by rewiring the existing system. We've never had any problems with our batteries, and this is a real nice change for us. Starting grade was a situation where we were looking for some improvement. Again, with the new E powertrain package, we've gone from a 19% grade or starting grade up to a 28%. Likewise, gradability. We could get about 20 miles an hour on a 6% grade with our first units. That's a little light in some situations. That's being up to 30. Acceleration, for those of you who are looking to race these things, we have increased our ability there. We're down to about 45 seconds, 0 to 60. Max road speed was set at 65 miles on our original system, and that was a problem for us because we had fleets that said, well, we want to govern this at 55 or 60 or some other number. And that was a little bit difficult. The new system has the ability to set max road speed anywhere from 45 to 75 miles per hour in 5-mile increments. This is a real nice change. Battery voltage change. All of us in the electric fields are running what they call DC-DC inverters, and that's how we charge our battery systems, our 12-volt systems. With the 400-volt limit that we had prior, we could charge at about 200 amps. With the 800-volt system, that's up to about 400 amps. So it substantially take care of better 12-volt loading in the future as necessary. New dash, everybody's got a new dash, and we are still vehicle to grid compatible. There's no change on that one. Some other really nice changes as far as accessibility. The pink tank you see in the upper left-hand corner is the tank for the cooling system for the batteries. The black tank is the tank, the expansion tank used for the battery or for the body heat system, the interior of the bus. And it was very inconveniently located right in front of the high voltage junction box, which is where all the technicians working on the high voltage system have to have access. So we literally had to remove half the cooling system from the front of the unit to get into that box. This has been relocated over to the other side of that front compartment. You see for reference right below that red tank, we see the power steering reservoirs. You can see where it's located. And the real benefit of that is it opens up the whole side of the electronics controls, which gives us better access to the high voltage system as necessary. We did upgrade the air compressor with Gen 1. The Gen that we were using an oiled, water-cooled air compressor, and it proved to be a mess. A lot of maintenance on it. It was every 30 days you had to go into it, and it was not an adequate system. We upgraded this to the scroll type, which is an air-cooled, oilless compressor last year, in fact. And we're even converting all the Gen 1s over to this new system as they see problems. But this is standard on the Gen 2 package. All of these current units today are being equipped with IntelliPark. This is not an option, it is standard. Why did we do this? Obviously, IntelliPark was developed to eliminate rollaway and runaway crashes. And of course, if you've had no engine noise, this is something that the driver can do very easily Since there's nothing there, he can see in the background, he can be distracted pretty easily in the parking lot, and this thing's just going to roll away. The system is designed that if the vehicle sits for several seconds without any input on the throttle or the service brakes, IntelliPark just applies parking brake, and the driver can just reset that and go back to work. This has proven to be very helpful. The other neat part of IntelliPark is if the charger is plugged in. I didn't say we're charging, just the fact that the charger is plugged in to the charge plug. IntelliPark knows that, and it will not release. And of course, this eliminates one of the biggest messes you can get into, is driving away with the charger still plugged in. This is not something you ever want to do. Other than a safety issue, it's very costly to repair. Welcome to 2026. We have a new option that's being required by the federal government, and that's a tire pressure monitoring system. If you have not seen that, get ready, because here it comes. This is a pretty neat package. If a warning lamp occurs, you're going to see something in the dash. I'm showing you an example of what we see in our C2 Plus on the left side of the screen. There's several levels of alert, and the first one is a deviation from CIP, which really wasn't well explained. Down on the left side of here, you'll see a little chart, and CIP is cold inflation pressure, and that is set at default at the factory at 100 PSI. Now, if you're not using that 100 PSI in your shops, you're setting it at 95 or 110, whatever you're doing, you got to change this. And you can go in, and this can be reprogrammed to whatever you're using for cold inflation pressure. If you don't do this, you're going to get fault codes, and just keep that in mind. Now, all the alerts in this system are based on the CIP. For example, the first one there, that first level of pressure deviation, if you're 15% too high or 15% too low, it will give you an alert, and it basically says adjust the air pressure. If you are 20% below, it will give you a fault code. You are going to see a situation the tire is critically underinflated, correct immediately. Our system will say stop vehicle. And likewise, a high temperature situation, over 185 degrees, you will get another fault code. Now, typically with a high temperature, if low inflation is the problem, you usually get that code first. Now, these systems are serviced with the Bendix ACOM diagnostic software. What components have been added to the bus? Well, at the front axle, item number 2 is a module, that is the module, and front antenna. It's looking at the front sensors, item 4. At the rear of the bus, there's a rear antenna, and it's looking at the sensors in the rear wheels. We're using our display for the system is going to be the dash itself. We won't have an additional one, at least not at this point in time. How you're going to know you've got this system, I don't care whose bus it is, you will find on the wheels a sticker, and it'll be right near the valve stem. And that's actually where it's located in the wheel as well. That includes the sensor ID number. Now, the other thing you have to keep in mind is tandems, is your duals. If you've got dual wheels, you have to stagger the 2 sensors. So you're going to have one valve stem at the bottom and one at the top. And that way the rear antenna can identify those systems very easily. And they are also numbered. There's a numbering system that's used on these that's pre-assigned. 1 and 6 are on the front axle, and you see the other ones there. One thing I will caution you on is, you get your new buses in this year, I don't care whose brand. If you've got the stickers on your wheels, you've got tire pressure monitoring. And at this point, I would look very carefully in the packet of information you get from your dealer and find those manuals for this system, because there is some stuff you can do wrong with it. Rotating tires, doing all of this and that. You have to reset these sensors. They also talk about some handheld sensors that may assist you with this, and I really don't feel qualified to get too much deeper into that, but this is a new system. Everybody's got it. All right, basic disabling the system did not change. You take the key out of the ignition, you turn off the 12-volt system, you disengage the high voltage disconnect switch. All of those are set up for lockout tagout procedures, and this vehicle is not going to start. You're going to take a unit out of service very, very successfully. Now, we have put some new decals on the bus, and the reason I put this slide in here is if you have a Gen 1 and you don't have the decals, contact our service office and we'll get you some decals so you can have the proper identification on your units as well. This works out pretty well. All right, manual safety disconnects. We only have 2. Why? Because we only have 2 batteries. And I didn't turn off my phone. There we go. They're on the rear of the battery driver's side. And there has been discussion over the years as to what you should be doing or not doing with these. Thomas and Matthews buses from day one has said, don't mess with MSDs. Manual safety disconnects are the physical breaks between the battery cells and the battery cables. And when we're working on a chassis, we must remove the MSDs, and that gives the technicians working on it the safety that there's nothing connected. And in real life, if nothing is wrong with this bus and it's pristine, you could just reach in once all the circuits on the previous slide were disengaged, you could just remove these, there'd be no problem whatsoever. The problem it gets into is if anything has happened. Why are we working on it? Because we had an accident. We had an incident. Something hit the bottom of the bus. Now we aren't in the same game. And now manual safety disconnects can't be removed unless you have the proper PPEs. Now, again, we've said since day one, don't mess with MSDs. Let the technicians that have there get in there and do that. And I've seen some change in terminology from our competition now. They're coming back with the same comments. If you have a problem with MSDs, don't mess with them, call us and we'll come take care of them. And that's a point that really everybody should keep in mind. That's very, very important. Now, training. Low maintenance training, low voltage maintenance training, drivers and personnel in the shop. We put them through at time of delivery of the bus with a very basic program, just a couple hours on the do's and don'ts of electric vehicles, what you should do, what you should not, how to start it, how to stop it, how to charge it. Very simple process. This has not been a problem whatsoever. At the same time, we usually spend the next couple hours with the maintenance crew, people actually working on the bus and on doing the low voltage stuff, a couple more hours, and we've completed all they need to give them what's called an HV2 classification. High voltage maintenance and repairs. This has been restricted to factory and dealer personnel only. And this has been a topic of discussion all along, is what are we going to do with this? I have all types of customers now saying, when can we get HV3? This has not been an option, but it looks like it is. We are very close to releasing an HV3 program. Now, this will be the exact same program that the factory supplies to us, which means it's not a 1 or 2 hour program. This is a 3-day program. And this will be conducted at our Avon training facility. And there will be prerequisites for the individuals going to the class, including the purchase of the PPEs and diagnostic equipment, so they can bring them to class and learn how to use them correctly. This is not a little program. This is a big step. It also means that in the case of most shops, you aren't going to have everybody HV3. You're going to be looking at key individuals with HV3 clarification or classification to support what you need. Now, the other thing to keep in mind with high voltage repairs, a lot of people are misinformed as to what they can and cannot do. If you are an HV3 tech, you cannot open the panel and start prodding around with your meters to see what's going on. You cannot do that. With this high voltage certification, if you have a problem, you document it and you contact the factory. You will have the right to do that. The factory would then, if they feel you're capable of doing it, and it's not a personal thing, it's whether the training you've received is that qualifies you for it, they would send you a check sheet and a set of instructions that are to be followed to the letter. You then return that information to the factory and they then evaluate what the next step is. This is not a quick process. It's the exact same process we have to follow. And probably I would say our competitors do the same thing. The factory has not given us carte blanche here, just go fix this thing. They basically say you can act as our agent and go in and make changes, but that's it. That's about all I have, Dan, for Julie 2. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to give you what information I've got. Dan, you're muted.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. You said there was an access in the floor. I was taking notes here. That is in the back, in the front, where?
It's right behind the doghouse.
Okay, and that's so we can or once we're certified and we approve the repair, we can.
Yep. That's right above the scuff plate in front of the battery, and it's either you drop the full scuff plate, which is a couple 100 pounds, or you can come in from the top and just open the cover. And that's our technicians love the damn thing. So
yeah, it's got to be a lot easier.
Yeah.
My other question is with the wheels with the sensors in there.
Yep.
So every time like you switch the tires around, I see that they were all numbered. So just like a car, you're gonna have to reset these every time you switch the tires around.
Yep. And of course, you've got tires that are directional sensitive, which makes it even more confusing at times. And we're all in the same program here. This is, there's not much we can do about it one way or another.
Yeah. John Hazelton has a question.
Yeah, Roger, with the manual disconnect or whatever you call it underneath that we're not allowed to touch, what if your boss got hit in an accident and had to go to the body shop? Do they have to disconnect anything on there to do body work for that?
We would have to disconnect.
But let's say it was just a panel. Should they disconnect the batteries to do any type of work like that at a body shop?
If there's nothing wrong with the vehicle, the body shop can do whatever they want to do with it. All we'd have to do is a normal shutdown where we're eliminating a key, turning off the 12 volt, and turning off the high voltage. The system's basically dead. The problem comes in the case of an incident and someone thinks I have the problem with first responders. They want to cut cables and do all that neat stuff.
Right.
Don't mess with MSDs. That's really the safe thing because they don't have the PPEs necessary to do this. And if there is a problem, I don't care what it is, high voltage, there is the danger of arc flash, and arc flash will hurt you really bad.
Yeah, and body shop guy asked me that. I said, well, that's a question I'll ask sometime. I mean, I guess you have to do welding or something. I think you'd want to be decommissioned, but like just doing like a body panel paint repair or something like that. Just a standard 3-step shutdown is all we really need to do on that. That's easy. Okay, thank you.
Good question, John.
Yeah, I imagine a lot of the manufacturers are going to be like that as we get into body work and those kind of repairs.
Welding on chassis, from day one when we went electronics, everybody was concerned about welding on the chassis, which doesn't seem to be a big problem. The only grounds with the high voltage uses to chassis ground is the cases. The cases are grounded, but the system is not.
Okay, so then before we weld a stringer or something, would we have to unhook
No.
anything? No?
No.
All right. Well, that is definitely good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions for Roger? All right, not seeing any. Thank you very much, Roger.
My pleasure.
It's always valuable knowledge, all the stuff that we get from you. Our next meeting for next month, I'm waiting to hear back from a few people before we put that together. So I will send this out in an email to everyone. Our summer seminar is on its way. The planning is going well. The floor is filling up. The vendors are responding. It is going to be July 15th will be the setup day for all vendors. July 16th will be the event itself. And there will be more information on this as we get closer to the event. Look to hopefully we get all the attendance like we had last year. We are still looking for some officers here at the Capitol chapter. So if anybody would like to help out, it's not a whole lot of work, but I could use some help here. And just reach out to me. We're looking for a vice president and a treasurer. Does anybody have anything else to add to today's meeting? Okay, not seeing any. I'm going to go ahead and close the meeting. And like I said, this meeting will be posted to our YouTube channel. So anybody that didn't get to see it will be able to get the information. And I will be in contact with everyone for the next month's meeting. I want to thank everyone for being here today. All right, we'll see you guys later.
Thank you.